Chief Warden will see what your secret is and take it away from you.
Hey, get up! He's coming!
This makes me happy.
I said repeat!
Booker, please.
I'm a god around here, Felix. I see everything. It's gonna be cold tonight.
I didn't do nothing!
OK， 好，各位现场跟线上的观众朋友，大家晚安。我们今天是数位共感法国 Vr 特展专场的第6场，今天要谈的是《狱中鸟首部曲自由幻梦》。
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the online conference of the 6th online conference of Digital Common Sense Digital Common Sense French VR Showcase. Today we are going to talk about the work called Jailbird.
今天的这部影片呢，它是由 Digital Rights 所发行的。那我们今天邀请到的是这部影片的导演 Thomas Villepoux， Thomas 维尔普，不好意思。
Today we have our invited is Thomas Villepoux. He's the director, co-founder of Digital Rights and director of Jailbird.
OK， 那我们时间不多，我们就邀请Thomas 来跟我们介绍。他待会会谈的是 Digital Rights 以及他的个人的创作。
Now we welcome Thomas to speak.
So please.
Hello, hi. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a great pleasure. It's too bad that I cannot be in Taiwan physically, but I'm really happy to be with you to talk about Jailbird.
大家好，非常感谢大家今天一起参与这个活动。很可惜我没有办法亲自来到台湾。
So my name is Thomas Villepoux. I'm a French director. I'm based in Paris, and I've been directing immersive content for a few years now.
我是这部沉浸式影片的导演。那我目前导这一类的影片已经好几年了。
I have a background of traditional cinema, traditional storytelling, and so when I came to immersive content and virtual reality and interactive content, I started to be fascinated by interactive storytelling and new technology, storytelling with new technology.
我本身的背景是传统的电影背景出身，那在我接触到这种可以互动而且是沉浸式体验的技术之后，我完全被它吸引，所以我最近就开始转向往这方面发展。
So I'm the director of Jailbird that was presented in Taipei, and I'm also the creative director of a company called Digital Rise. And I guess my connection with Taiwan starts with Digital Rise and the fact that we co-produced with Serendipity Film several experiences, like one is Mechanical Souls a few years ago, and another one is Song Within Us. So we have a habit of working with Taiwan already.
我是 Jailbird 的导演，但我同时也是 Digital Rights 这间公司的创意总监。那 除了 Jailbird 这部片以外，我们其实之前也跟台湾合作过，创作了2部沉浸式体验的作品，一部是喜宴机器人，一部叫做欧里边境。
One of what I want to work for as a director, especially in immersive content, is to produce content of entertainment, and that would actually be very accessible to a large audience, to the grand public. We want to make experiences that use new technology, but in a very simple way and very accessible way.
Okay. 我们在制作沉浸式体验的内容的时候，我们是希望可以让所有的人都能够理解、都能够接触、也都能够看懂的。
So Jailbird is actually right into that wheel, what we want to do. Just a few words about Jailbird. So Jailbird is a trilogy. So you can see chapter 1 at the showcase, but there's two more chapters coming.
Okay. Jailbird 这部 VR 作品呢，它本身是有3部曲的。那目前我们出版的是第1部曲。
It's adapted from a comic book of actually from a Belgian author, published in France, but from Belgian author, and it's a very simple and strong story about these 2 guys that are in prison and their adventure there. And it's exactly it's something that you, even if you don't know VR, even if you don't know that new technology, you can totally relate to the character and relate to the story.
所以 Jailbird 这部影片呢，它其实是改编自一个漫画，是一位比利时画家画的，叫 Villepoux。那内容主要有2个角色，那内容是大家都很容易理解的。
And so that's why I think it's a great opportunity to do that showcase. And I want to thank all the organizers of that showcase to be able to bring VR to the public. It's very important, and I know how complicated it is. So thank you very much to ETA, to the Taipei Film Festival, to the Digital Art Foundation, PXN, and the BFT also, with whom we work a lot as Digital Rise. So great work, guys, to get these experiences to the public.
我觉得这次很开心能够让这部影片在台湾展出。那我知道要举办 VR 的展览，不管在设备、在流程上都不是一件很容易的事情。所以这次非常感谢这个活动的主办单位，包括 ETA， 包括台北电影节、法国在台协会，还有台湾数位艺术基金会的共同举办。
Okay, so thank you Thomas for 谢谢 Thomas 呢你的分享。那接下来我就主动提一些问题来想跟你交流这样子。
Okay, thank you very much Thomas for your sharing, and now we are going to ask you a few questions.
Okay, 从特展的主办方来看哦，这次我们选播映了10部影片，10部影片有7部。都是 Sixtoph 的作品，那也包含我们今天谈的这一部。
So this time we showcase 10 VR works, and 7 out of 10 are we are using the Sixtoph technology.
那每一部 Sixtoph 的作品，其实因为观众是可以互动，不是单纯的萤幕彼端、萤幕对面的一个观众。每一部作品的互动设计都略有不同。以这一部作品来说，观众基本上是一颗镜头或一双眼睛。
All the Sixtoph works are interactive, but in different ways. In Jailbird, in this work, the public are not like just viewing the scene. They are in the scene. They are like one angle of camera.
对，那我首先的问题就是，在这部影片里面，镜头的运用是相当的活泼的。那我会好奇的部分就是说，在镜头的调度上面，还有时候镜头的飞翔，或者是镜头的运动，跟这些交错的敬畏上面，我会开始反思我自己是谁。那在这样子的问题上面，不晓得 Thomas 希望带给观众什么样子的自我的认知呢？
有一点长 ，It's a bit long.
OK， 在镜头的调度上面，有时候我看到的是像是电影式的一个导演带我运镜去观看风景。
So the using of the point of view and the camera in this work changes a lot. Sometimes we are beside the character, sometimes we are above.
那在这个视角的切换上面，我会好奇我自己为什么可以飞翔，但是有时候是可以走动的呢？
How did you choose or decide to put the different angle and different feelings within the scene?
那也就是说，有时候我身在囚牢中，有时候我不身在囚牢中。那我其实可以靠着我的双脚移动，有时候却不行。
So because it's an interactive work, sometimes we feel like we are trapped in the cell, but sometimes we feel like we can fly out of the cell.
约莫就是这些丰富的镜头的语言。那我好奇的是，导演是希望带给观众什么样子的体验？跟作为一个 VR 里面的观众，他是谁？
Okay, so the question is, as a director, why and how did you choose these angles, and what do you want the public to feel, to experience?
Well, the story of Jailbird is a story about freedom and prison. It's the story of this guy, Felix, who is in prison, and it's a horrible prison. But he actually is always happy and always cool. And
okay. 所以Jailbird 这部影片里面要讲的其实是自由。那里面的主要角色 Felix， 他被关在一个很可怕的监狱里面。
And the reason Felix is always okay is because he has a way to escape. That is what you discover at the end of chapter 1, is that he has a way to escape.
这个被关在里面的大块头囚犯叫做 Felix， 但他虽然被关在这么可怕的牢笼里面，他却一派轻松，一点都不觉得哀伤。那我们在影片的最后会理解原因。
So all the decisions as a director that I took is to play with, to make the people feel either that feeling of being closed inside four walls, the claustrophobia of being in a cell, or the freedom of being out of that cell.
所以身为这部片的导演，我想要观众体验的同时就是被关在监牢里面那种禁忌或幽闭恐惧症的感受，被关在小小牢笼里，以及可以在外面飞翔的自由的感受。
That's why I chose to do Jailbird as a 6DoF experience. You don't have to move much. It's not an experience when you have to move or walk around. But I wanted to give people the possibility of movement, just to take it away from them.
虽然这是一个 6DoF 的影片，但我不希望观众需要做很大幅度的移动，所以我运用的角度会用各种不同的角度，让观众就算不移动，也可以感受到像自己在飞翔或者在走动，在小小的牢笼里面的感受。
And also you were talking about interactivity. So actually in Jailbird, we have a little bit of interactivity, but you don't actually see it.
所以在Jailbird 这部片里面，其实也是有互动的成分存在的，不过虽然它不太明显。
So something will trigger sometime when you look at the door, when you look at the characters, it will trigger something in the story, but you don't see that you have triggered that.
在这部影片里面，我们在看着门或看着人物角色的时候，其实会引发他的下一个动作或故事的接下来的剧情，但是它的转折不会那么明显，所以观者不一定会知道是自己的眼神会让故事继续发展。
The reason for that is because I want people to be like in a mood like we are telling them a story. I don't want them to be active like in a video game. I wanted them to be passive, to be able to be closer to the characters, to empathize with the characters.
会使用这样子的互动的原因是我希望观众不只是在第三者的角度观看这部影片，我希望他们是觉得自己身在里面，他们也是故事的一部分。
And so what we develop with Jailbird is, like you said, a change of point of view.
所以我们在 Jailbird 里面运用了很多不同的观者角度、镜头运镜。
It was actually one of the first things that we decided for the project, and we tested it before with prototypes. Like, is it possible to change from the point of view from objective to subjective, mean even seeing with the eyes of a character and then jumping out of that character?
这个因为是三部曲的第一部分，所以我们在创作之前做了许多的测试。我们试着用不同的角度，甚至是犯人的眼睛的视角去看，要如何掌握整个场景的运镜。
And so we saw that it works. It works very well, and you can do also change the position and make camera movement in a sixth off.
那我们在测试之后发现效果非常的好，所以我们就甚至我们在影片里面可以像电影的运镜那样子的方式使用，所以我们也在这部影片里面使用 sixth off 这个技术。
We are giving the spectators some. We are doing sixth off first because it's more immersive. Just the idea of this little movement, you know, it gives you more reality than a 360-degree film.
我们使用sixth off 这种沉浸式的运镜方式，会让观者更觉得自己身在其中，比起看3D 电影，完全是处在那个角色的空间里面。
But at the same time, often the sixth off with video game, for example, it gives you a feeling of hyper reality that really puts you in the scene. And I needed to be able to tell my story. I needed a little bit of to be a little bit away from the action in order for the spectator to be a spectator and not an actor.
在一些电动游戏里面，使用 sixth off 是让玩家可以觉得自己身在其中，自己在做里面所有的动作。但我在 Jailbird 里面，其实也有把镜头拉开，让观者会觉得自己是用第三者的角度在看这个故事的发生。
So that is the reason for those camera movements and change of point of view. It tells you that you don't have the control. You're a spectator and you're in that prison, so you feel that prison, but you're not free. You're even under the control of the director, you know?
所以我们才会用这么多不同的运镜角度跟方式去呈现这部电影。那同时让观者觉得自己也被关在那个牢笼里面，真的有被幽闭恐惧症被关在里面的感觉，就亲身体验里面角色们正在身处的空间。
And just one last thing. You said, yeah, in Jailbird you have the scenes in the jail, and you have the moment of freedom where you fly around the mountains.
在 Jailbird 里面，我们会看到我们被关在监狱里面，但之后有另外一个场景是我们在监狱附近的山上飞翔的景。
So I wanted to use that feeling of flying. Remember when virtual reality started, people just loved the roller coasters experience, just an experience when you would move around or fly, and that was it.
我们使用这个很像飞行的浮角，是因为大家在一开始用 VR 在创作的时候，很喜欢做像云霄飞车那样子的视觉，因为我们的眼睛看到东西，又让我们有一个错觉，是我们真的跟着比如说云霄飞车在移动。
And at that moment, there was like a separation between the people that were doing cheap, funny roller coaster and people who were doing interesting, intelligent storytelling.
Can you please repeat again?
So at the beginning of VR, you had that roller coaster thing, and people loved it.
Yes.
And directors like me, a lot of people said, yes, but it's cheap, it's fun entertainment, it's just raw emotion and fear, and we want to do something more intelligent and complicated.
Okay. 在 VR 一开始的时候，也就是像云霄飞车这样子的视觉刺激，对一些电影导演来说是比较普通、太平常，没有什么特别，它只是要刺激我们人类的感官而已。所以对电影导演来说，他们希望用这样子的技术，可以带给人们更深一层、更比较知识性的感受。
But actually, what you should do is when you have that emotion that you can give to the spectator, it's much better to use it in your story. To use that feeling that works well, instead of just saying, oh, it's just for fun parks. I'm not doing that.
所以身为电影导演，我希望沉浸式的电影导演，我是希望可以利用这样子的技术，带给观众更深层、更真实的体验，而不是只是娱乐性的觉得感官刺激。
Okay, thank you. Yeah, 我想要延续一个问题，也就是跟体验有关系的，那是关于这个作品。我有找到资料，或者是上次有跟导演提到说原本有装置，有搭配装置。
I saw in some documents that in this work there's actually a equipment which goes with it.
Yeah. 那导演过去的作品像是实验机器人跟欧里，他都有真人跟观众在互动，或者是希望你可以透过唱歌的方式进行互动。
In your previous works, like Ollie, A Song Within Us, or The Mechanical Souls, you also have a lot of interactive techniques inside, like you can sing or you can move with another character.
那因为我们这次展示的关系，还有疫情相关的关系哦，我们很可惜没有展出相关搭配的装置，想请导演再多聊聊，如果有装置的话，这个完整的体验在观众这边会有什么样子的差异或者是設計？
Because of the COVID pandemic, this time we cannot show this Jailbird with the equipment, with the proper equipment. Can Thomas please share with us what would be the difference if we can see this work with all the equipment?
Well, the equipment first, it's to give a little bit the mood of the experience. But that, I think you have a decoration at the showcase, so it's working quite well at the showcase.
如果可以有整个装置的话，主要是更能够让观众进入这个作品的情绪。不过因为目前这个展场现场也有做很好的布置，所以这个部分倒是没有什么问题。
And the element of equipment, it's a platform with actually like something that stops you, like a little square of 1 meter by 1 meter, so that you cannot actually move that much.
所以，其实这件作品搭配的移动设备，它是一个1米乘以1米的方形，让观者移动的范围大概就是在这个正方形的框框里面。
And the goal is exactly what I was explaining, is that you can move because it's a 6DoF experience, but actually your movement is limited, so you are not free.
所以这个设备的目的呢，就是让观者们可以移动，就像我们在影片里面刚刚提到的影片里面可以看到的一些内容，我们觉得我们好像很自由的可以移动，但同时又是被限制住的，因为那个设备其实是1米乘1米的框框。
So it really supports what we are telling in the story. It's when we try to do hybrid experiences, when you mix the real world and the virtual world, and it has to work. It's all in the service of the story.
所以我们会我们会做这个 VR 作品，加上它实体的设备，就是希望可以结合实际的体验跟视觉上面的虚拟的体验，可以结合在一起。
OK。Thank you。我这边也蛮好奇的是说，最后影片的最后还是回到视线的部分哦。我们进入了这一位主角，不是 Felix， 他是叫 Felix 的双眼。那不晓得 Thomas 可不可以透露一些关于我们进去双眼之后，是不是就是第2部曲跟第3部曲的一个延伸呢
？So in the end of Jailbird, we entered Felix's eyes. We're curious about if the second part of the trilogy will start from there.
Well, yes, the second part of the trilogy will explain why do we go in his eyes and what is so special with his eyes that makes him able to support the torture from the chief warden.
所以第2部曲呢，会开始解释，会从他的眼睛这边开始解释，为什么 Felix 有办法忍受牢狱之苦，在里面受到的各种折磨，他的眼睛到底有什么特殊之处
？OK， 那我们真的非常期待后续的第2与第3部曲的发表。
We really look forward for the second part and the third part of this work.
那因为时间的关系，我这边再列大约1到2个问题。
We don't have a lot of time, but I still have 1 to 2 questions to ask Thomas.
对，那线上有观众提问到说，这部影片它跟一般我们的 VR 的作品的接触的观众有稍稍的不同。譬如说它比较偏向电影的欣赏的风格。那不晓得在 Jailbird 也是今年夏天刚刚发行的嘛，在观众上面，导演这边有什么观察？观众反馈有什么不同呢
？So we have one question from the online public. This work just published this summer, this year, right? It's a very cinematic work compared to other VR works. Do you have any feedback from this your work, Jailbird, from the public?
Yeah, actually, Jailbird was presented in a festival in France 2 weeks ago, and Jailbird won the audience award.
所以 Jailbird 这部片2周前刚刚参加了法国的一个电影节，而且得到了观众奖。
And it's like I said, for me, it's the best award because what we have been trying to do with Jailbird is to make an experience that will speak to the general public, that is easily accessible.
我觉得很开心，因为我们在创作这部影片的时候，就是希望它可以让所有的人都看得懂，所有人都能够喜欢，所以一般任何的观众都可以喜欢这部影片。
It's really our credo at Digital Rise and what I do as a director. It's we think that the immersive industry now needs some needs to touch the general audience because right now we have a lot of very, very interesting experiences, but are also only seen by very, very few people.
我在 Digital Rise 这个地方身为艺术总监，我们一直希望做的事情就是让沉浸式的体验可以让更多人接触，更多人去体验到。因为沉浸式科技真的可以带来非常多有趣的观点跟体验，可是因为各种原因，通常只有很少数的人有办法看到或接触到。那我们希望可以推广给更广大的大众。
And just to come back to the question, so we have very good feedback from the public. Most of them like it very much. Some are a little scared, either by the flying scene or by the evil characters, but they love the universe.
回到刚才问题的本身，观众们的回馈都是非常正面的，他们非常喜欢。那甚至有些人是觉得有一点点可怕，他们会被飞行的那个画面有一点吓到，或者是在监狱里面很靠近、很拥挤的感受吓到。
OK， 那我自己有在一个提问，其实 VR 的影片的长度是最难掌握的一部分，主要是因为你不能把影片做得太长，那要如何在短时间里面去进行一段有头有尾的故事呢？是非常考验导演跟编剧的。
So I have one last question. In the VR films, the timing, the duration of the work is very important. How do you control the length of the film, and how do you write a script so that in a very short time we can see a complete story?
那针对这样子改编的作品，尤其是需要做怎么讲呢？原作与改编作的比例的拿捏。那
especially in this kind of adoptions, how do you choose to how do you adapt actually? What kind of thing you will delete? What kind of thing you will keep?
那我想我因为问题面会非常的多元，我就只问一件事情，就是说在改编的部分上面，由于这是漫画所改编的，在画风的表现上是不是非常重要的核心也就是画风不要太差异太多。
So because it's a very vast question, I will just stick to one point because it's a adaptation from a comic book. So do you need to stick with the original style of the comic books, the drawing of Philip Foster?
Oh, for the adaptation of the style of the comic book, we did not adapt the original style because the style of Philip Foster is very much black and white, pure black and pure white. And it's very much flat, so it would not have worked in 3D.
我们在改编的时候，其实并不是完全使用原本作者的画面，因为 Philip Foster 他的漫画完全是纯的黑跟纯的白，而且他的画风是完全是平坦的，不是立体的画风。
But however, we wanted to have a style that is a tribute to the comic book. And anyway, Jailbird is a very extreme story with extreme characters. It's not realistic. So we wanted a strong visual style.
我们还是希望可以对向原作致敬，所以我们还是有想办法接近原作的改编。那由于这个故事非常的极端，是有一点非常残酷的，所以我们也希望在视觉上可以有很强烈的效果。
There was a long process of trying and researching with the artistic director, which is Fred Remusat, and the studio, the PAC in Belgium that made the animation. We worked for several months on these visual styles.
所以为了可以适当的改编这样子的画风，我们花了非常非常多的时间在做资料搜寻跟尝试。那我们的动画公司是比利时的公司，我们花了好几个月的时间找出最适合的画风。
And for example, what we did with the studio is that we created a special shader. So a shader, it means how does the 3D objects react to lighting. And so we created a special shader that makes the shadows looks like it's drawn, hand-drawn.
我们花了很长的时间在做 shader 这件事情，那要让所有的影子的部分看起来都很像手绘的。
And in relation to the story, you were talking about writing the story. The original comic book is actually quite short. So it's inspired by that comic book, but we had to rewrite a lot and to adapt to the media.
所以其实原本这个漫画原著的故事非常的简短，那也因此我们其实需要重新编写许多故事内容。
And yes, it's very difficult to make a story in such a short time. You have to go straight to the point and only keep like each scene is very important.
所以确实要在影片这么短的时间内要讲一个完整的故事，绝对不是一件容易的事情。那也所以我们每一个画面每一幕都要非常的直截了当。
Sorry, I can go on that forever, but I think you have different question.
我们问题到这边，但如果关于刚刚的那个改编的部分 ，Thomas 还有要继续补充的，我们非常的欢迎，也很期待。
Our question stops here, but if you have other things to share about the adaptation, the writing of the stories, we're more than glad to listen.
I think, if you start me on storytelling, we don't have enough time for that, I think.
如果我们现在一直讲故事如何撰写的话，今天的时间应该是不太够的。
OK， 那很谢谢Thomas 今天台湾晚上今晚在法国这边是白天的时间，那我们也非常期待狱中鸟的第2跟第3部曲在未来跟我们见面。
Thank you very much for your time. In Taiwan it's evening, now in France it's still daytime, and we really look forward for the continue of the trilogy of Jailbird.
谢谢大家，谢谢。那我们今天的 Q&A session 就到这边为止，谢谢 Thomas。
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Thomas.
Merci.